Hey guys, Argent here. So people occasionally ask me to do more mental health videos. I haven't done any for a while, largely because I've been feeling pretty good. Lamotrigine seems to be working pretty well. It's dramatically improved my quality of life, and my life personally isn't going too bad. So I just haven't really felt like doing one. I kind of go through phases, you may have noticed, where I do a bunch about one topic and I do a bunch about another topic. But I kind of feel that's like a channel strength is that I do have a diverse range of content, and I do switch it up every now and again and kind of change my interests around. So I had just been through a really long period of stability. And I think that's kind of it made me realize just how sudden and how complete mood shifts are within bipolar. I think someone once described it as being like high functioning multiple personality disorder, and it really does kind of feel like that a lot. So in my case, I had three very distinct personalities, and I can feel when I switch between them. But it's the subjective experience of switching personality is kind of interesting. Because it's not like you put on another mask or whatever. It's that it's not, it's kind of hard to describe. It's every aspect of the way you look at the world, every aspect of your emotional core, kind of every aspect of what you identify as the self will completely shift. Your personality will completely change. The way you look at the world, the way you interact with other people. Like I said, your personality, it's very disturbing and it's very intense. And that's one of the reasons why the disorders that cause the most suicide, bipolar, borderline, those sorts of things, the reason why people wind up killing themselves a lot is because of derealization. So let's just go into this and I'll try to maybe explain this. So the three personalities. So broadly speaking, the three personalities correspond to the three main moods of bipolar. That is a manic personality, a depressive personality, and I guess kind of the normal personality. We'll just call it the Argent personality. Or, just kind of the normal one. So, when I'm not on medication, I'm in depressive personality about 70 to 80% of the time, normal about 10% of the time, and manic about 10% of the time. When I'm on proper medication, I'm normal probably about 70% of the time, and then the remainder is equally divided between mania and depression. So yes, medication does make a very big difference, because that's basically a flip. In the amount of time. So the normal personality is, I guess, one that I've started to kind of feel better because I can actually experience it. The normal is kind of like your standard personality. It's what all things being equal you would be. I don't really know of a better way to describe it than to just call it the normal personality. Most people don't suffer from having multiple personalities, so it's kind of just the default you. Kind of what you feel comfortable with, kind of what you feel you're in your skin when you're kind of embodying. So part of the issue is, and why I'm kind of feeling better, is I'm getting more in touch with that because I'm normal more often. When you're only kind of in your default state, like a tenth of your life, it feels very strange. And that's kind of the reason for the suicidality. Is it just feels surreal a lot of the time. Like you'll wake up and you've switched between kind of your personalities, and there's almost memory loss. You'll find that you can't rationalize what your other self did. You can't, and mine's not even that severe. I just like to point that out. I don't go out and like kill people or like do really like illegal shit. I'm just saying. You'll like you might be manic and you'll just go fucking berserk and you'll just start yelling at people and you'll say really mean things and you'll just try to dominate them emotionally, and then you'll wake up and you're normal again, and you'll just be utterly shocked, and you won't even be able to relate with what yourself has done. Just the way you act has just gone so much against kind of your image of yourself that your body just and your mind just kind of shut down because they can't even deal with it. And if you switch between these states a lot, then your whole life just kind of becomes this nightmare where you just can never really relate to yourself. And it causes immense kind of stress on your mind and your psyche. And that's kind of why people often will kill themselves when they have this disorder, just because they just can't handle the stress of not having a self, more or less. So what are the 3 personalities? So the normal me is largely what you get on this channel. Kind of a bit of a shy guy, maybe. Generally speaking, I think I'm a pretty nice guy. I have a bit of a temper, and I can get a bit irritable, but I really do try to be nice to people. Well, I swear a lot. I do kind of try to be polite to people. I try to be thoughtful. I try to have a personal sense of honor. I try to be loyal. I try to work very hard at anything I put my mind to. I try to take my duties seriously, like honor your parents even if you are angry at them. I guess just try to be a decent person. I'm fairly calm. I'm not particularly, I guess you could say, ambitious. But I like to work hard. I like to enrich myself mentally. I like to talk to you guys. I like to do these videos. I'm fairly introverted and kind of a loner. I do have IRL friends, and I do see them a fair bit. My life is quite isolated, and that's for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, so that is kind of number 1. So then we have my manic personality, and I've been manic probably the least out of the 3. There was a prolonged period where I was manic for basically years. Because I was on an extremely strong antidepressant called Effexor. And that just made me go batshit crazy. Now, when you're manic, basically what it feels like is every organ in your body is burning with energy. It's not just that you feel energized, it's burning. It's desperate to get out. It's kind of like if you have like a blister and it's just there's so much pressure in it, you just have to pop it. I know that's disgusting, but that's kind of what it feels like. When I was on Effexor and I was like having full-blown mania, I would have like heart palpitations. It would start to derealize when I got angry. Like reality would just start to seem like it's moving in slow motion, etc. So it just, mania often manifests as this kind of an all-consuming rage. You're irritable, you're angry at everything. You become hypersexual, hyper-greedy, hyper just everything. In my case, it often manifests as an age to utterly dominate other people. And I don't mean sexually, I mean like emotionally. Like if we're having an argument, and it helps because when you're manic, your brain works a lot faster and your body works a lot faster. Because your body's literally kind of burning itself out. So you just kind of go fucking crazy, and you have to dominate the conversation. You lose your inhibitions, so you're able to basically kind of destroy people emotionally because you can determine their weaknesses, and you don't have the inhibition I normally would have against using them. And I just try to make people cry when I'm like that, and I try to just make them suffer. And they call it mania for a reason, and they call it megalomania for a reason, because you tend to start to develop kind of crazed views of yourself. When I'm manic, I often develop kind of crazy fantasies of burning the world, of just killing people, of just everything is unclean, everything needs to suffer. It's often like extreme narcissism you have when you're manic. You stop kind of thinking about other people. It's very unpleasant, and people will often say, well, mania doesn't sound so bad. But mania is very, very unpleasant. What's kind of that thing that Scarecrow says in Batman? I said it would take you places. I didn't say it would take you places you want to go. So there's that. On the flip side, though, mania can be more positive than depression. There's a milder form of mania called Hypo-Mania, which is mainly what I have, where it can manifest as you just are having a good day. You're normal. You have a lot of energy. You're very creative. You're very productive. You're very you're a bit aggressive, and but it also manifests as kind of charisma. You're charismatic. You can give big eloquent speeches. You can use your force of personality to persuade people. It can have some positive effects. That's why a lot of famous or successful people are bipolar, because when they're manic, they can do shit like work for weeks at a time without rest. Just go crazy. Just go into that hyper focus mode. So that's kind of what a manic state is like. And it can be, if you have mild mania, it's the nicest thing in the world. You just kind of feel euphoric. It instead of burning, it just feels like this pleasurable electricity is just surging through your body. You even start to feel like you can like bounce, like you almost start to skip when you're manic because you just have so much energy. Then there's the depressive phase, which tends to follow mania. Namely, when you're manic, what happens is you do a lot of shit that will have bad consequences. Normally, just because when you're manic, you can't sleep because you have so much energy. And eventually that catches up with you. And the combination of overperforming your brain and body combined with not resting and not eating properly normally leads to a crash. And the crash is very severe. Kind of the depressive phases in the bipolar tend to be worse than the depressive phases in normal depression. Particularly since, once again, they follow a completely different period. You go from being megalomaniacal, having this self-confidence and this all-consuming belief that you can do anything, to just being fucking like thinking that you're less than dirt, wanting to kill yourself because you think you're just a burden on everybody. Just despising everything about who you are, thinking you're a failure, thinking you'll never achieve anything, just full of self-hatred. And the mental, I guess, psychic tension between holding two diametrically opposed, and if we add in kind of the normal state, 3 diametrically opposed views of yourself at the same time and switching between them is extremely stressful. And I don't mean stress in kind of the mundane version. I mean stress like you got like this cable that's barely holding up a like rock. Like there's something lifting, I guess, a rock or something, and the cable's straining and it's starting to pop, and you just keep putting more and more and more pressure and stress on it. And the person eventually kind of snaps, and that's why a lot of people kill themselves, because they can't deal with these different views of the self. It gets to the point where you start to just not really be able to interact effectively with the outside world. It's not like autism where you can't empathize with other people, you can't really read them. It's that you can't understand yourself at all, because it just changes constantly, and the subjective experience feels like, oh, I was always manic, or oh, I was always depressive, but your memories don't line up with that. You have to understand how weird it is to go from like one day from thinking, oh well, things are not great, but I can keep persevering, I'm getting my life together, and I think I'm going to be okay, to the world is evil, the world is full of sin, the world is this dark place, and I have to burn it and I have to destroy everything, to I'm a worm who doesn't deserve to exist. I'm just a burden on everybody. I hate myself. I can't do anything. And you have these 3 different kind of states, and you just cycle between them. And it's just it makes people go fucking crazy. And that's why a lot of I guess kind of like school shooters, or just people who commit like really horrific crimes are people with illnesses like that who haven't gotten proper treatment and just snap. Now, am I like that? I was probably heading in that direction. I'm on mood stabilizers now. So what a mood stabilizer does, and this kind of subjective experience of that is, it prevents very sudden, dramatic switches between the three states. You'll still have high periods that are much higher than like what a normal person is. It's not just like you have a good day. You might have a week or two, in my experience, where you are hyper and you are irritable, but you don't go fucking crazy and start screaming at people and just go and buy like thousands of dollars of shit. And you don't like get in, just like you don't go that bad. So it reduces the range of your personality. You don't really switch between different personalities anymore. You just have much more radical mood changes than most people, but it doesn't feel like a completely different person anymore. And you start to feel more like you're in reality, and it reduces the stress. You also have extreme sad periods, but once again, it's not. You're in a little more control. Like you can kind of recognize, oh, I'm having a depressed period, as opposed to the world's ending, the apocalypse is happening, etc. So that's kind of what kind of having multiple, this I guess kind of the subjective experience of having multiple personalities is like. And just kind of having multiple states. Now it's a bit different, obviously, from normal multiple personality disorder. I don't like. My memory still works. It's just hard to kind of relate between them. But hopefully you found that interesting. This is Argent. I'll talk to you later.